Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our Fiqh Hour. So let's start straight away, because obviously today I will be finishing a little bit early. I'll still keep it live because obviously today people have been busy trying to cite the Hilal in order to see if we declare now after Maghrib as the start of Rajab, or we wait till tomorrow evening as the start of Rajab. Couple of questions which came from yesterday. One was, are we permitted to eat all the animal that we have slaughtered halal? Meaning, that is all the animal permissible to consume? Is there any parts of the body that is impermissible to consume? And I said, I think there's around 8 parts of the animal that's forbidden. Well, it's actually 7. One which is haram, and the other 6 which are makruh tahrimi, so they are virtually haram. So the one which is haram, because of the clear verses of the Quran and hadith, is blood, flowing blood, not dried blood. So blood itself is haram. And the other parts of the body, I did indicate towards that yesterday, are the private parts of the animal, including and also the glands of the animal, and the urinary bladder, and also the gallbladder. So these are the parts of the animal that one is not permitted to consume. One, obviously, which is categorically haram from the verses of the Quran, and the others are makruh tahrimi. So it's close to haram, so we should abandon those as well. The other question, which I said allow me some time to look into, which was regards to one of the gates of Jannah being called joy, for those who brought happiness to children. And last night I mentioned to you that this is the first time I've heard of this hadith, and I do not consider it to be sound. However, I said, allow me to look into it. So I did try to look into it, and as I suspected, I could not find the hadith at all. So when I could not find the hadith at all, I wanted to see, because it was reported that this hadith is in a book by Imam Daylami. Okay, Imam Daylami was a muhaddith. Now, Imam Daylami, there's actually 2 people that use the title Daylami in their books of in their books, yani the hadith books that they compile. One is the Hafidh, as it's referred to. So he was considered as a grand master in hadith. So the Hafidh, Abu Shu'bah, Shurei, eventually Ad-Daylami Al-Hamdani, who was around the 445 to 509 Hijri. And he's written a couple of books. One is called Firdaus al-Akhbar bima'thur al-Kitab al-Mukharraj al-Kitab al-Shihab. Okay, so these are a collection of hadith. However, there is no mention of the isnad, which is always problematic. His son then is Abu Mansur Shahradar ibn Shirway ibn Ad-Daylami, who passed away 558, and he took his father's work, and what he wanted to do was add the isnad. So he was going and made the book called Musnad al-Firdaus, meaning that he took the hadith and he added the isnad to it. So this hadith is reported to exist in there. I don't have access to these books, and I didn't have time to look into these books anyway. I would probably have found maybe a copy of this online, but I just didn't have the time to look into it with so many other tasks and responsibilities that I have. So therefore, the fact that this hadith only exists in this is again very questionable. That how is it that if this hadith had existed before them for nearly 5 centuries, why was it not mentioned? And then suddenly 5 centuries later, they discover this. So this is questions its authenticity. Therefore, as we said at that time, this hadith is probably not valid at all and therefore should not be considered, which ties into especially the fact that we've got other narrations which mention quite categorically that there is the doors or the gates of Jannah, the 8 gates or doors of Jannah have already been named, and those names are known, which are to do with particular acts, except fasting, which has a specific name. So that's quite common, and it comes in a more sound narrations. So therefore, we will accept that as that. So that's the 2 areas that were left for yesterday. As for today, we have had a few questions. Maulana Suleiman has a habit, mashallah, of putting those questions up literally 10 minutes before the live. He has all day and all night the night before, but no, he waits and waits and waits, and then when there's 10 minutes to go, he puts his questions up, which doesn't really give me much time then to look into them. The whole maqsad of putting those questions up before 7 o'clock is so that it gives me time to look into it. If they're literally put up 5 minutes before 7 o'clock, then normally when it gets to about 6:45, I'm sort of preparing myself here. So obviously I've got my iPad there, I've got one phone there, I've got another phone there, and I've got my laptop there. So there's not much time then to start looking at questions or anything of that nature when I'm getting all my stuff put together. But khair, let's have a look at those questions anyway and see how we can be of some assistance. What are the consequences for missing the date one had vowed to fast tomorrow on? Does one still have to make up that fast, and is there a penalty or just a sincere tawbah? This would be a specified necessary fast. Therefore, it is wajib upon him to make that fast. And if he doesn't make that fast, it is wajib to perform his qadha. So there will be qadha required upon him if he made a vow to fast on a particular day, specifying the day, and then he did not fast on that specific day, like he's saying here, if one had vowed to fast tomorrow, then he has specified a day. And obviously, as he hasn't then conducted that particular act that he said he would do, then he is required to make that particular fast up. Does one have to give consideration to refraction even when the limits of the horizon are visible to one and one can clearly see that the sun has dipped under this horizon? You're mixing things up here, Maulana. When we say take refraction into consideration, that is when we use a calculated time that comes to us from the astronomers. The calculated time which is given to us from the astronomers is usually they add about 0.6 or 0.7 degrees for refraction, but that's insufficient amount of time they add. So they already add that in. So they say that if a man was to stand, or a woman for that matter, and look across the horizon, then they would continue to see the sun, even though the sun, the dates, the times that they have on the astronomical charts will say that the sun has set. But visually, the sun will not look as though it's set, visually, because refraction means light, is the bending of light when it goes through a medium. The best way to explain this is when I finish, or you can go now, get yourself a glass of water. The glass has to be see-through. Put some water in it and then put a spoon in it. And you'll notice that the spoon going into the water and the spoon in the water looks like they're not connected to each other. One will be here and the spoon in the water will be here. And the reason for that is because light travels at different speeds in different mediums. And this is what we call refraction. So when we look across the horizon, then due to pollution and everything else for that matter, then light is being refracted, meaning light is being bent. Okay, so we will continue to see the sun, even though it has academically, according to the astronomical data, set. We will still see it because light is bending. So they do already take about 0.6 degrees into consideration for refraction, but the work that we did, we found that that was insufficient, and more needed to be taken for refraction. And therefore, it is not what you are seeing. It is not what you are seeing that we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is the data which is coming from the astronomers. That data has to have refraction taken into consideration. Whereas if you're looking across and looking at the sun setting, then you would wait for the sun to set. And once the sun has set, as you're looking at it, then that would be Maghrib time. And it'd be interesting then to obviously equate that data, that visual data, with actual astronomical data. So then you can see. But remember, this is a very bad experiment because all you've done is one, and you are one person. So therefore, in order to do this properly, you would need numerous sighters, numerous locations, numerous times. You'd have to construct a scientific experiment. It's not just one guy looks across and says, oh, I've seen it, so therefore that's the answer. That's not how we do science. There is a scientific way, and therefore you have to understand that scientific way. In a previous episode, you had stated that swallowing the saliva between two adults requires kafara. Is that for both, regardless, or only for the one who swallows the saliva? It is not between two adults, but rather between a man and his wife, or a woman and a husband. That is the only, and that's the only circumstance from memory that would require kafara. And that would obviously be the person who has swallowed the saliva, not the person. But that's near impossible to tell unless someone literally, puts their saliva in the other person's mouth. Usually that happens if a husband and wife are kissing. And if a husband and wife are kissing, and obviously as they are kissing, and if they are not just kissing lips on lips, but actually going slightly more passionate kissing, then that is going to be the transfer of saliva into the person's mouth. Now, how are they going to know, whose mouth has what gone in? That's it. So that's why obviously one should refrain whilst they are fasting from engaging physically in any way, shape or form with one's wife, especially the younger the person is. But nowadays, obviously, age is not necessarily a factor. It's best just to avoid it full stop, and refrain from that and focus upon other things. Why is a laxative suppository which enters through the anus and performs its task there considered a nullifier fast? That's an interesting point, and it is a point which has, I wouldn't say puzzled me, but has intrigued me since obviously I read it many moons ago. The reason for it is because, well, I'll explain the reason. I'm not saying that I'm necessarily fully satisfied with the reason, but the reason is because the anus is a route to the stomach. And therefore, because the anus is a route to the stomach, then it will be considered as a nullifier of the fast. However, and this is where my however bit comes in, is the mouth is also a route to the stomach. But if we place something in the mouth, we do not say that the fast is broken. We can say, obviously, that the fast has got some hurmat in it. If you take something which has a taste, or you put something in your mouth and to chew or anything like that, then we say, obviously, this is something that should be avoided. The only reason we put water in our mouth is to perform wudu. That's the reason we put water in our mouth. Otherwise, we shouldn't be putting, and the reason we put miswak, because it's sunnah. Otherwise, we shouldn't be putting anything inside our mouths. However, it does not break one's fast if they were to place something in their mouth. So isn't the mouth also a route to the stomach? And if the mouth is also a route to the stomach, then what is to say that if you place something in your mouth, it will go directly to the stomach? There are other orifices, obviously, which are slightly more direct. If you have, say, for example, a perforated eardrum, then there's a route for a liquid inserted into your ear, making its way to the back of the throat and going in. Similarly, the nasal passage, obviously, if you snort something up your nose, then that's also going to make its way down your throat. But you can still place something in your nose. So you can take water into your nose. Now, why doesn't that nullify wudu? It's only when it reaches the point of the soft bone and it's now making its way down your throat that is considered as a nullifier of wudu. I don't know why I keep saying nullifier of wudu, meaning of nullifying your fast, vitiating your fast. That's so everywhere where I've said that, just replace it with what I just said there. So I get that. I get this point that why should it be considered? putting a suppository up the bottom, why should it be considered? Because the suppository does not make its way all the way through the intestines to get to the stomach. The other question then comes, are intestines considered as a place of the breaking of the fast? Because arguably speaking, the intestines do squeeze and you release things into your body. Okay. So therefore, that's the only bit that I've come to where I've sort of said, yeah, okay, there is a fayda. So when you, for example, eat food and the food reaches your stomach and your stomach does its thing, then obviously when it's taken everything that it needs to take out, it doesn't all of it come out in the stomach through the stomach lining. The intestines, and the reason why the intestines are so long, because your body is still squeezing stuff out of it, including water, as it's going down your intestines. It's only when, and obviously there's a bit of a space between the bottom end of your intestine and the anus, not much, at the point in which there is nothing useful left in this bit, and therefore it's now poisonous and it needs to be removed from the body. So therefore, I can see the rationale there that if the suppository, if we're saying, oh, the suppository doesn't reach the stomach, so therefore it's not an issue, but the suppository may, unlikely, but it may, or the benefit from the suppository may reach the intestines, and therefore it is being released now into the blood. So I understand that point. And I think, you know, that it's a valid argument. This argument was similarly made with the female anatomy, that inserting something in the female anatomy also nullifies the fast. But that's not the case. Again, it's been proven now that there is no direct contact between the female anatomy and obviously the stomach. So, and that's how it was understood previously. And now with modern biology and people understanding the body better, they're saying, well, that's not the case. So that can also hold in the anal passage. However, the only difference I would say there is what I've just spoke to you about, the intestines. So I guess precautionary, it is better to avoid it, even though we can possibly say that there is, you know, it's less of a problem. But at the end of the day, you know, normally, obviously, a person puts a suppository in the anus because they're struggling to pass stool. But really, you know, when you're not eating much, then I guess stool is the last thing that you need to be worrying about. And maybe that's a laxative is probably a better idea near the time of breaking fast. So you know, it's not an issue as such. That is that you know, we need to not necessarily. I'm not saying we need to kind of. It means we don't need to really explore it for the very reasons that it's being used in a good in that way. So you've already been told about the haircuts. So that's all the ones that have come through the Markaz al-Iftar wal-Qadha. Let's just pick up some of the questions which have come up on the group. Dry blood on the animal even after it had flowed? Question mark. Dry blood on the animal even after it had flowed. I'm assuming this is going back to that first question with regards to me saying certain things which are forbidden. Flowing blood is haram. One cannot consume flowing blood. Dried blood, well, the thing is, when blood dries, then it can dry in the arteries. And when we say dry, what we mean is that no longer flowing. So when an animal is slaughtered, obviously the reason why it's slaughtered is to get rid of the blood, because the blood is the haram part. We can eat meat, but we can't consume blood. Apart from obviously the liver, which we are permitted to consume. So when it comes to the heart, obviously the heart is a pump. And what the heart will do is when you slaughter an animal across here is that the blood pressure will drop naturally. And when blood pressure drops, it is the responsibility of the heart to beat faster in order to push the blood pressure back up again. But what it's doing is that the heart is literally pumping all the blood out of the animal, because the heart doesn't know that this animal has got its arteries cut and it's not a closed system anymore. you can only control pressure in a closed system. Once the animal's throat has been cut, it's no longer a closed system, and therefore you cannot control pressure anymore. So as the heart is beating madly to try to get this animal's pressure back up, it's literally just emptying the animal out of blood. But it won't be that all blood will make its way out of the animal. Some blood may still remain, okay, especially blood which is going to be lower down beneath the heart, near the legs, that kind of area. Unless obviously the animal is being hung upside down like a chicken, then that's a different thing. But if it's an animal that's not hung upside down, then obviously gravity is pulling the blood down, and the heart is trying to pump the blood up. So yes, it will still bring some of the blood up, but not all of the blood up before obviously the animal dies and the heart stops beating. So the blood will start to, I won't use the word dry, but the blood will start to coagulate in the veins now and in the arteries. And therefore it will be within that. Now that is obviously permitted to consume, because it would become too difficult now for you to try to take, literally rip all the veins and the arteries out of an animal. That would be near impossible. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray Musab as well. I am very well. Barakallah fiqh. Should the 4 sunnah muakkada before Zuhr and Jummah be read after the fard, if not read before the fard? Yeah, there's ikhtilaf on that particular point. The ikhtilaf on that particular point is that should you pray them immediately after the fard, or should you pray them after the sunnah, which comes after the fard? So there's ikhtilaf. Some say, well, don't make the sunnah which come after the fard, don't make them qada as well by pushing them further back, and read them immediately after the fard. And some say it makes no difference. So yes, you pray them after the fard. Did that experiment with a pencil early today. Alhamdulillah, excellent. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray you are in good health and in good state of iman. Ameen. Yes, alhamdulillah, my health is considerably better. It was a little bit sort of fluid earlier in the week, or back end of last week, and still a little bit this week, but slowly recovering. Just got a little bit of pain at the base of the back, a little bit around the chest as well, but alhamdulillah, slowly but surely. Can you make dua for your parents if they are non-Muslim? For example, the dua for the parents. Yes, you can make dua for your parents if your parents are alive. You can make dua for anybody, Muslim or non-Muslim, if they are alive. There's nothing wrong in doing so. Once a person dies, that's when the situation changes. When a person dies, then obviously we can only pray for believers, because of the fact that we know that if a person disbelieved in Allah and they die, then obviously their situation is pretty clear what's going to happen. So therefore, whilst they are alive, of course, we can make dua. We can make dua for anybody. We can a worldly dua, a dua of akhirah, and even it can be an implied one. So you can even say to your parents, may Allah bless you with Jannah. And somebody might say, well, how can you say that, brother? Because your parents are non-Muslim. Yes, may Allah bless you with Jannah, but the only way you're going to get to Jannah is through Hidayah. So what you're implying is, may Allah give you Hidayah in order that He then gives you Jannah. So, there's nothing wrong in that. But once a person passes and it's categorically known that this person did not die as a believer, obviously the only way someone's going to really know that is if there's an intimate relationship between the two people, because no one knows that somebody may have converted to Islam and kept it secret because of whatever, society, work, the pressure they're going to get, the abuse they're going to get. So no one knows a person's true state. So all we know is when we're aware of it, then obviously whatever we are aware on, we will act according to that. No problem at all. Wa alaikum salam, Sheffield. If one uses an aerosol deodorant and on spraying it, you can taste it and feel it in your throat, would that vitiate the fast? No, that wouldn't necessarily do so. It has to have some kind of solid substance to it. It can make the fast disliked, and therefore one should be very careful when they're going to use things like that around themselves. It's best to, because there's a chance of breathing these kind of things in, but it's better to avoid, but it does not affect the fast because you've not consumed anything solid. However, one has to be a little bit careful with these sorts of things. I had a lengthy conversation with somebody many years ago about things like which are vapors, because things which are vapors can solidify later on, similar to, like, for example, steam. Steam is a vapor, but it can liquefy later on. So there's other vapors as well that can liquefy later on. So we have to be a little bit careful when we are doing things like this. And when it's only the initial zest that will get it. So you turn your face away, whatever. If you get a little bit, that's not a problem. You're going to get that anyway as you're walking around. You're going to get smells and tastes and things like that. So it's what you're going to do is where you can avoid it. Some scholars say it's okay to use toothpaste. I'm assuming you mean with regards to when a person is fasting. So toothpaste, the issue with toothpaste usually is that it has a taste. You can taste it. And it's usually a strong taste because its purpose is to freshen the mouth so that you don't have bad odor coming from the mouth. And it also, the smell is not the issue too much, but it's the taste. And to intentionally put something into your mouth, okay, to intentionally put something into your mouth which has a taste, except in exceptional circumstances, is impermissible. So therefore, scholars will say don't use toothpaste. Also, what one is adding to their mouth is something which has the possibility of going down one's throat. Now, even if you swallow toothpaste unintentionally, there was never intention, you did it mistakenly, accidentally, the fast breaks. So it's a risk. You're adding a risk to your fast by doing that, and obviously the fast breaks. If, on the other hand, you had an odorless, tasteless toothpaste, which I don't know what purpose it would serve, but let's just say you had a tasteless toothpaste and you used that and you were very careful in that you held your mouth down like this. So when you brush your teeth, there was no chance something could go to the back of the throat because gravity is going to naturally throw it out your mouth. Then there is some scope, but the risk element is quite high. And therefore, one has to be a little bit careful about introducing anything into the mouth, just like the conversation I had earlier about the fact that, as soon as you introduce something into an orifice, and especially an orifice which links to the stomach, then you're asking for trouble because it just takes, a slip and that's it. Your fast is broken. And it's mentioned, our understanding from ulama that, even if you fast the whole year, you will never get the same type of ajr and the same benefit that you get if you fast in the month of Ramadan. So that's something that we need to keep in mind as well. Can you clarify what you said about eating animals from the sea yesterday? Is it only scale fish we're allowed to eat and nothing else from a Hanafi perspective? Yes, from a Hanafi perspective, it is only fish that we can consume. And fish has been defined as the way I described it yesterday, a scaly animal, which has fins, which when taken out of the water will die. It has a tail. The box standard fish, as soon as I say the word fish, the impression which comes into your mind, that's the type, what you drew probably in primary school. That's what a fish is, and that's what the Hanafis say is permissible to consume. If one uses toothpaste before fasting and can taste whilst fasting, is the fast broken? No, the fast does not break if there is a taste in somebody's mouth. That does not break one's fast. It can bring karaha to the fast. Sorry, I might have said hurma early on. It can bring karaha, meaning dislike to the fast, but it does not break the fast. Breaking of the fast would mean something literally reaching your stomach. The other one is dimag, is the brain, but that's a whole kind of complicated topic because literally anything which gets into your blood reaches your brain. So again, this goes back to how the Fiqhour understood anatomy, because maybe they understood anatomy in a way that the brain was a place where certain things go and the stomach is a place where certain things go. So like, for example, if you were to say smoke, the impact of it goes to your brain. Similarly, if a person takes drugs, the impact of it goes to the brain. Whereas obviously when you eat, the impact goes to the stomach, but in reality it's also going to the brain, because what we understand about the brain is that it's the oxygen is supplied there through the blood, so the blood is always going to the brain. Anything in the blood is going to go to the brain. You just cannot stop it. If you take poison, it's going to get to your brain. If you smoke, it's going to get to your brain. How does it get to your brain? Obviously it reduces the amount of oxygen. If there's something in you've taken something which is like cannabis, which has an impact, then it's going to go to the brain. It's going to affect you. So therefore literally anything you take is going to affect the brain. So then it could be everything could be a fast breaker. So we just have to kind of explore that a little bit more. But in the general sense, let's just look at the stomach for now, and anything which reaches that would be considered as a breaker of the fast. Assalamu alaikum, Sahab. Do I have to repeat my ghusl if I see drops of pre-cum after I perform my ghusl? No, pre-cum, it does not necessitate ghusl. It is only semen which necessitates ghusl. This would require a wudu to be performed. So if, for example, a man is with his wife, and whilst he is with his wife, and they're just kissing or holding, touching each other or whatever, and he is aroused, and as a consequence, what happens is there is a pre-seminal fluid which lubricates the urethra in order for preparation for potential ejaculation. But they stop at that, and that's it. They go off on their merry ways. Now, obviously, what does this brother do? He's not ejaculated, but he can sense a liquid. He can sense that. So what he will need to do is he will need to make a wudu. Is musty? Oh, okay. He will need to make a wudu because this is like a najasa, like urine. And when anything comes, kharaja min as-sabilain, anything which comes from the two orifices requires wudu. It nullifies wudu. Obviously, if he didn't have wudu in the first place, it makes no difference whatsoever. But I'm just saying that if the brother was in wudu, then that would be the situation. Let me just send that. So, okay. We've said that intravenous injections don't enter a cavity. That's correct. Therefore, do not nullify the fast. That's correct. What if this intravenous injection contains a dose of supercharged nourishment? Yes. When it comes to this, is again another conundrum. However, in this case, the conundrum is not that problematic. Reason why the conundrum is not that problematic is because when we look at hadith, then the hadith speak clearly about what is considered as a if ever I say nullifier of wudu, I mean nullifier of a fast, because I've done it a few times today already. What we consider as a nullifier or vitiator of wudu, there you go, of fasting. And there has to be the cavity and also the end place as well. Okay, cavity of consequence, sometimes it's the term is used. And it has the nourishment or medicine has to enter via a cavity of consequence. If it does not enter via a cavity of consequence, then it is not considered as a breaker of the fast. So this is a valid point. Nowadays, obviously, back in the day, the only way you got nourishment into your body is through your mouth, and I can't see it being through the anal passage. So it would be through the mouth. Okay, so that was the only way. But we didn't know that the skin is a living organism, and you can have patches like nicotine patches that can slowly be intravenously dropping nicotine into our blood supply. Again, the whole concept of the blood supply, which is carrying food around the body and carrying oxygen around the body, or carrying glucose around the body anyway, carrying oxygen around the body. This wasn't really understood to the way we understand it now. So in this case, this would go against the spirit of the fast, because it would go, it would go against the spirit of the fast, because the spirit of the fast, full well that what you're doing is you're getting nourishment into your body, and you're avoiding the stomach. All you're doing is, because the stomach is just a route to get nourishment into your blood. The key thing is the blood. The blood is the living fluid in your body, which is literally keeping you alive. Its job is to move glucose up and down the body. Its job is to move oxygen up and down the body, two components that we need in order to live. Without them, we would die. Yes, the heart does its bit, the kidneys do their bit, the stomach does its, the liver, the gallbladder, and all the rest of it, without doubt. Don't get me wrong. But the motorway and the sea and the air is the blood. That's where all your transportation is getting done in. Now, if you can circumvent the stomach, if you can circumvent the mouth, you can circumvent the stomach and literally just inject yourself with nourishment to get straight into your blood supply. So now your blood is just passing around your body. Everything is fine. Your body feels strong. Why? Because you're getting so much nourishment coming in. You're not feeling any hunger because your body's got that. You might still get a little bit of stomach kind of effect, but generally speaking, you don't feel like you have the need to eat. So it would go against the spirit of the fast. It wouldn't necessarily break the fast, because the breaking of the fast has been defined. And because the breaking of the fast has been defined, it is something now that we accept and we carry on in that particular way. Is this a valid way to redo one's nikah? To take supercharged nourishment? Probably not a good idea. Oh, hold on. The rest of the questions are coming later. Okay. The husband tells his wife to give him permission to marry him. The husband tells his wife to give him permission to marry him. And there's some pronouns getting a bit mixed up there, unless we live in this new pronoun world where pronouns can be anything. The husband tells his wife to give him permission to marry her, I'm assuming, with a specified dowry amount. And if the wife gives permission, then in another majlis, in front of two witnesses, or one man and two women, the husband declares that he has remarried his former wife with the specified dowry amount. Will the nikah be redone? It's not about permission. There's no need for permission. Literally, the way it will be done. Wa alaikum salam. Okay, everything's gone in reverse order. The salam comes at the end. Basically, the way it is done is there has to be an offer and there has to be an acceptance. So if what you're saying is the husband offers himself to his wife, that I'm offering myself to you in marriage, and she says, I have accepted you as my husband, it's usually the other way around, where the woman offers herself to the man and he accepts her as his wife. When that's done in front of two witnesses, the nikah is valid. With the dowry stipulated, the nikah is valid. Okay, there's nothing else that's required. So it says, so it seems to be suggesting the husband tells his wife to give him permission to marry her. So I don't understand why he needs to give her permission, because this seems like I don't know what's going on here. He makes an offer, she accepts, or she refuses. That's it. So whichever of the two parties makes the offer, the other one accepts, and the nikah is done. So there's got to be an offer, and there's got to be an acceptance. There's got to be a stipulation of the mahar. The mahar doesn't have to be given, even though it's better too, but the mahar doesn't have to be given as long as it's agreed and stated. And there's got to be a minimum of two witnesses. And then the nikah is done. So if that's what's happened, then it's all fine. He doesn't have to say, I need to redo my nikah or whatever. That's it. That's irrelevant. All it is that they have to perform the nikah. The Hanafi fiqh books you advise me is not available. Is it also good to read them as a PDF? I don't know where you're based, Abdul Rahman, but I'm quite surprised that they're not available. They're fairly standard books. You should be able to get them from Amazon. I don't know which. I don't recall which ones. I think is it the ones we said in English some time ago. I'm pretty sure you can get something like Noodly Dah, on Amazon. I'll be very surprised if you don't. Alhamdulillah, in the UK, we have lots of good bookstores, Islamic bookstores. So you will be able to get it. I'm pretty surprised you won't be able to get it. And, it's better to buy the book rather than, getting a PDF. It's only if you got no space left or you have to get so many books, then there's some, scope for PDFs. But otherwise, you should buy the book because the authors put a lot of time in. The authors put a lot of energy in. It's recognizing the work, and there's nothing, nothing beats, picking a book up in your hand and reading it and making notes on it and things like that. So, that's what we would recommend to you. And do you still get hasanat? Yeah, of course. Seeking ilm is seeking ilm. The Nusuk Hajj website seems quite unreliable by the Saudis. I feel afraid to rely on it with large amounts of money, as it is quite buggy, etc. Can I delay Farz Hajj until they iron out the issues? No, one cannot delay a Farz Hajj. I've not heard anybody saying that they've lost money. If this is the actual Hajj website in reference to the state, the Saudi state's website, then I've not heard anyone so far that have said to me that, we don't, it's non-existent. We don't, it's the money disappears or something like that. So one shouldn't look at that. When does women's discharge break wudu? Woman's discharge, when it is considered as discharge, a woman's anatomy naturally has moisture inside the inside part of her anatomy will naturally have moisture. But when she is slightly more moist than normal and that discharges onto her undergarments, then anything which exits from the sabilain is considered as a nullifier of wudu. So she would then have to consider her wudu broken and freshen her salah. So the best way, because obviously each woman's situation is different, is that if it is a natural moisture that she naturally has, then, she should excuse herself of it. A woman will know her anatomy. And when she has a discharge, either because she's unwell or because, maybe she's spent some time with her husband or whatever, then there will be that extra discharge that is there. Or if she's eaten a particular type of food or whatever, women know their anatomy. So they will know that this is some extra discharge rather than just some of the moisture from the inside of her anatomy that's just made its way onto the outer garment. The Essential Hanafi Handbook of Fiqh, that is a good book. I think so, yes. I'm trying to remember who that is by. It's a bit heavy, if I remember this book correctly, because we taught it in our madrasa many years ago. I thought I had a copy here, but I don't have it. If you have the author's name, just share the author's name. But I think I know which one it is. It's a Persian book, I think that is, and it was translated into English, if I'm not mistaken. Well, Persian into Urdu and then into English. Istibra, I try to do it the best I can, but as soon as I stand up to do wudu, I feel drops of urine. Sometimes I spend half an hour just doing istibra. I want to know. So based on istibra, assalamu alaikum sahab, can you go over the mas'ala for people who have urine problems? So say they've done the whole looking after, put the tissue, then done wudu, and then sat after the prayer namaz, and they feel maybe a qatra or think there is a qatra. How do they deal with it? So a little bit similar. So basically the way to do istibra is to, especially if you feel this situation, is like our brother here has mentioned, is you take some tissue and you put it at the head of your anatomy, pull up your lower garments, and then just walk around a little bit. So make your istinja, but don't make your istinja 5 minutes before salah time or 10 minutes before salah time. Not wise. because obviously now you're gonna be stuck for the Jama'at. So maybe half an hour before, visit the toilet. Now just carry on, do your normal day-to-day, walk around, walk around, and when you're walking around, then you, as in your case, you're saying that yani you're gonna, your liquid, there's gonna be some liquid dropping, liquid moving, and if that is the case, then obviously what you would do is you would then remove that tissue, because obviously what you've done is you've walked around, the bit of droplets have come out, and that's it. Now you can remove the tissue, and now you can make wudu, and now everything is fine. Okay, because you're giving yourself a good half an hour, you're giving yourself 45 minutes, so you can leave that tissue there for 10-15 minutes and walk around, carry on with your normal day-to-day, and once you get to 20 minutes before, that tissue, if there's any drops, would have come out. Now make your wudu. Same case here. Obviously you've done your salah, now you're feeling the drops come through, then it doesn't really matter, because you've not, the situation is such that this has happened after your salah. So because it happened after your salah, then there's not a real concern for you as such, because the salah has been completed. When you say you feel it, you've got to feel it. It's very rare that a person would do the whole thing, as you call it, do the istibra, put the tissue there, walk around, sit down, pray the salah, and then feel something. That's very unique, unless it's been, unless you did your istinja and then rush to make wudu and rush to get to the masjid or rush to get to salah quickly. Then yes, there's a possibility. Hence the reason, like I explained hence I've just explained now to the brother that what to do is, at least have that little bit of a duration of that half an hour or so that at least that gets done. Okay. What to do is, I'm just gonna, because we're now 3 minutes away from going on to the call, so I think most of the questions are done. Yeah, Smolana Yusuf Talavera Ali Al-Amriki. Can't say I've heard of that. Okay. I think I have heard of this. What to do is this a translation of Mala Buddha Min? It might be written on the inside sleeve somewhere. Have a look, see if it's written somewhere. I think this is that one, which is a translation of Mala Buddha Min, which, like I said, it's a good book. Alhamdulillah, might be slightly more, bit not technical, bit more complicated, but it's a useful thing. Okay, so I'm just gonna knock this off, because so we'll carry on with the others, but I'm gonna knock the what do you call it? What's this called? Yes, what? What was that? Yes to? Okay. I don't know. I don't think any of my videos went up. Ya Allah. What happened there? Okay, something went wrong. Okay, let me just grab this. So, yes, what's that yes to, Abdurrahman? So, we've been getting messages through the day with regards to potential sightings, whatever. So, for example, early in the day, Moon Sighting Australia said that the Hilal has not been sighted anywhere in Australia. Therefore, the month of Sha'ban will begin from Monday the 12th. So we got that from Australia. That was my best Australian accent that I could give you. Then Fiji got in touch with us, and they said new moon for the month of Sha'ban was not sighted in Fiji. Therefore, the first day of Sha'ban will be on the 12th of February. Then we had where's this? Botswana. Okay, Botswana said, due to no confirmed reports of the moon sighting, the Hilal Committee of Botswana has determined that in Botswana, the 1st of Sha'ban will be Monday. So that's Botswana. So we've gone across from Australia, across the sort of Indian Ocean. India also did not sight. And then we've got into Africa now. Where are we now? We're going to go to Mozambique. A bit of Le Français, no, it's not even Français. I don't know what this is here. It sounds Spanish. pour ne tercido vigulaza alu au Jamiatul Ulama de Mozambique informe que Dominico 11th of February. Basically, 12th is going to be the 12th is going to be, that was his best effort I could make. 12th is going to be the 1st of Sha'ban. And then we go to Malawi. And Malawi are saying that NMC has confirmed that the Hilal for Sha'ban has not been cited as such in Malawi. Okay, so that's Malawi done. Next, we go to Zimbabwe. The Hilal for Sha'ban has not been cited as such in Zimbabwe. The 1st of Sha'ban corresponds to Monday, the 12th of February. And now we're going to go on to the call. And so I've now received what we've seen in Morocco. So Morocco news is here. And so I'm just going to take the call.
Welcome and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate for free. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please wait and you will be joined into the conference.
Amjad. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're still live right now, and the people are waiting for the news to come through, inshallah. I've just been informing them of the process again, reminding them of what the process is, and also some of the akhbar that's come through from Australia and parts of Africa, apart from obviously those countries that we have a direct agreement with. So just so they get a feel that this is not just an isolated sort of method, but we're taking into consideration how the world is going through, inshallah. Gee, is it just me and you for now? Assalamu alaikum, Mufsab. How are you doing? You okay? अच्छा अच्छा कौन आ गया अभी? हाँ मुफ्ती ज़कीरी साहब, ठीक है इंशाल्लाह. Okay, bismillah. So anything from local? Negative. Raining, cloudy. So we've got, mashallah, just for the benefit of the viewers here, that we've got various sightings that have come from up and down the country, but all the sightings that came from up and down the country have been negative. Is that correct? G. And anything from Morocco? G. Okay, so Morocco is positive. And anything just for covering the full details? Anything from South Africa? Negative. All African countries are negative, obviously, except for Morocco, who's got positive. तो पर इस पर फैसला हो जाएगी ना. So कल tonight inshallah Rajab शुरू हो गया. Shaban, sorry. I'm 1 month behind. खत्म हो गया, Shaban शुरू हो गया. ठीक है inshallah. Perfect. Okay. ठीक है. We can make the announcement. Yep, based on Morocco. Yes. Okay. Okay. Walaikum salam. So yes, most, if not all of Africa came back negative. UK has come back negative. However, there's been a positive sighting in Morocco. Morocco is one of our international partners that we do take sighting from. Morocco has got a very extensive and developed Hilal operation, sighting and operation. Many of our ulama colleagues have traveled there and seen the process themselves, and still to this day regularly go there. Maybe it's just an excuse to go on holiday, I don't know, but they still regularly go there so they can see the process, and we receive documentation which we have here that is then shared with us. I don't know how well you can see that. So that's our, well, you can't see at all. That's not good. Oh, there you go. I'll put it at an angle. Oh, don't be reading my WhatsApp status comments, people. So there we have it. I'll put it up like that so you can't take any sneaky looks. There you go. So that declaration comes through. And that's a positive sighting, inshallah. So yeah, so as a result, tomorrow is the 1st of Sha'ban, not Rajab, like I incorrectly said, and I was corrected, inshallah. So there's only a month now to go till Ramadan. So barakallah fiqh. How does Islam deal with suicide? I'm not sure what that means. How does Islam deal with suicide? Suicide is not permissible. It is haram. Suicide is haram. Suicide cannot be done. Reason why suicide is considered as a major sin is because of the fact that you cannot make tawbah from it, because once you kill yourself, that's it. So we need to understand what the causes are that lead people to suicide. The lifestyles we lead now are very challenging. There's so much stress. There's so many things. We're being pulled in so many directions. It makes life very difficult. But because we've hit 8 o'clock, maybe if Haris, you want me to discuss that further, you can raise it tomorrow, inshallah. Otherwise, we have hit our 8 p.m. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you all. So al-Mubarak lana. Yes, absolutely. Al-Mubarak lana fi Sha'ban. Wa ballighna Ramadan. Ameen. So we have now just the 29-30 days to go before Ramadan comes around again, inshallah. So let's make use of our time. As I normally finish off, do share the handles, do share the links, do share the videos so more people can benefit. And let's take each day of Sha'ban in with khair and count down to Ramadan. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.